and welcome to the Merryweather Knitting Podcast. My name is Gabriella and I'm coming to you from my home in Germany, where I'm so excited to chat with you today about all that I've been knitting and making and inspired by this week. I hope you'll get something delicious to drink and get cozy and join me for a little while for some fun creative chat. Today I have my golden cup because it matches my golden earrings, and I feel like I'm somebody who likes to match things sometimes, and I've shown this teacup before on this podcast, but it's a very, very special teacup that my husband and I found at a flea market a long time ago, but it's really special. And I mean, it was really a treasure to find this because it feels like something so regal and so opulent, and I always feel like such a princess when I drink out of it. But today I am really excited to share with you what I've done this week. This week has been quite a focused knitting week, almost a monogamous week for me in the knitting realm. I have been working very faithfully on my Elizabeth I pullover, and I've hit a milestone on this pullover. I'm so excited. I have finished the body, so I guess I'll start with that to share that with you because I'm just so excited about it. And right here is my cat, Sawa. You can see his little paw. He's sitting on his perch. He's an exotic short hair cat. So he's like a mix between a Persian cat and a British short hair. If you're a cat person, you'll know what that means. Otherwise, it means nothing to you, I'm sure. But maybe he'll make an appearance in a moment. And I'm sorry if you can hear him. He's just making noises, and I'm not going to move him away because I feel like that's not very nice. And you probably also are seeing cat hair fly through the screen because he's got a lot of fur, and when I sit here I always get covered in it. I don't, it's not my favorite thing about him, is his hair that he sheds, but otherwise he's the best cat in the world. But my Elizabeth I is being held in this beautiful project bag, which is a Noble Character Crafts bag made by Amy of the Noble Character Crafts podcast. I always love carrying this project bag and having it with me. It's just really, really special. So I had already finished the first half of the body. This is a pullover which is knit in pieces. And this is a design from the Tudor Roses book by Alice Starmore. It's a gorgeous book filled with designs all inspired by women of the Tudor dynasty. I've spoken about it many times, but it remains probably, I think it's actually the only physical knitting book I have. I have knitting books that are digital, but it's the only physical knitting book I have, and I cherish it and I adore it and I love it. And we're hosting Knit Along for this book as well, the whole entire year of 2021. It's not too late to join. You can join at any time. Join the Ravelry group, which is linked below. Join on Instagram under the hashtag Tudor Roses KAL hashtag. It would be so much fun to have you. The Knit Along is hosted by me, along with two other podcasters, Bella of 100 Acre Wool and Zsófia of Berke Creations. So you should definitely, if you're interested in these patterns at all, think of joining. I've had so much fun knitting this design and have had so much fun seeing other people's projects, but I'm going to show you my finished body first of all. Okay, so this is the finished piece from this last week. It is unblocked, so it's a little curled and not very crisp, but I am so proud of this. You have no idea how amazing it feels to you probably know if you're a knitter, you know how amazing it feels to have hit this kind of milestone in a project you've been working on for a while. And it's not that this project is super complex or one that necessarily needs to take that long. I think this could be a quick knit for, if you were a little bit more focused on it and a little bit more monogamous, but I've knit different things while knitting this project, and so it's taken me a while, and it just feels so lovely to have the body finished. I'm so excited. I think last week I was just about here, or maybe a little bit less, I'm not so sure. I had not made it far on this cabled V design. So I knit this whole thing this week, and it was so much fun to knit. I flew off the needles. I was just so inspired to work on it, and every time I could, every spare moment, I picked up my needles and just kept knitting away on it. And it felt so just wonderful to see the progress and see the motif emerge. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I'll hold it up a little bit so you can see it. It's just absolutely beautiful. And like I said, it's a little bit crumpled up right now because it's not quite, it's blocked and it's been sitting now for about 48 hours in my project bag. So it's not in its final form. This week I might block it because I have been blocking, or I blocked the first piece when I finished it. I thought it might make more sense to block things as I go. Hopefully they don't lose shape before I seam them together. At the end, I'll measure them once more to make sure that they're the right shape, unless, you know, I might need to re-block them, but I think it won't be necessary. But here's the first piece. You can see it a little bit better. It's a little bit more crisp because of that blocking, although the stockinette edges do curl in still. But look at it, it's so beautiful and so dramatic. You can't really tell on the camera because of the way I'm holding it, but it has a very dramatic hourglass waist. It's like very dramatically shaped. It's just gorgeous. It has such amazing shaping. I'm so excited to wear this piece. I think I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of it. It is another very opulent design, I would say. It's very elegant and refined. I think it's simple, but that dramatic shaping and this dramatic V with this design, kind of this cable design in the center and lace, it really seems just very luxurious and almost fantastical, I feel like. So I'm definitely gonna get wear out of this, and I'm so excited. I'm just so much closer now to really being able to wear it than I've ever been before, which makes me so excited. And this is being knit out of the Hebridean 2-ply yarn, which is the yarn called for in the pattern. It is the Starmore yarn in the colorway Machair, which is a beautiful, gorgeous colorway. Hopefully you can see it there. It's just lovely. And so I completed that body, and then I went ahead and I decided to cast on the sleeves. And a few months ago, while knitting another project that was knit in the flat, which that project I still have actually not finished. It's in hibernation right now, and it's very consciously in hibernation. It's the clover pullover. If you've been here for a while, you might remember it. It's a very beautiful, intricate Marie Wallen cabled pullover. It's in hibernation right now, and it's going to stay there, I think, until the spring, because I've been working with green yarn, and I really love green. I'm not tired of green. I adore it, but I felt like that green and that yarn and that pattern fit spring so much more for me and my knitting kind of vibe. So I think I'll wait on knitting it till the spring. I could knit it now, I would enjoy it, but the next project I have to show you that I knit the swatch for, I just have such like a burning desire to cast that on and knit that sweater right now that I think I'm just gonna go ahead and do that and wait on the clover until the springtime, because I mean, it's beautiful yarn. It's Rowan felted tweed, that pullover, which I really love knitting with, but I don't know, I think I'm just going to want to knit on it a little bit more in the springtime, so I'm gonna wait on it and just let it be until then. But all that to say, while I was knitting that, I got the suggestion to, when someone told me that when I got to the sleeves on that project, I should knit the sleeves 2 at a time in order to avoid them being different lengths and just to kind of get them finished. I got that from quite a few people, actually. Quite a few people suggested that to me and said, it'll be so much better for you if you knit them 2 at a time. You'll like it more, you'll enjoy it more, it's so much better. So I took that advice and applied it to this project as well, because I thought, you know what, if they're knitted in the flat, that's just so easy to cast on 2 at once, have the 2 balls of yarn and then just knit the 2 sleeves together. I think it's then easier to just really see how far you've come, and when I cast off, I'll be casting off both sleeves, which I think is going to be an amazing feeling. So I'll show you now how far I've come. I just cast these on last night, and I've only knit a few rows, although I did start on the little miniature motif. But here it is. It's unfortunately I'm mid-row, so it's kind of hard to show you. But here's one sleeve, and here is the other sleeve. And this design has gorgeous big sleeves. Like, it's crazy. They're beautiful. They're like so out of this world beautiful. I think that also adds to the kind of fantastical element that I feel that this design has, this kind of over-the-top, beautiful, dramatic element. Very Renaissance, very Elizabeth I. very fitting in every single way for the namesake of this pattern, I would say. But yeah, I'm really enjoying the process so far, although, you know, I just cast them on and just started knitting them. But you can see already how big they are and how, like, I just am imagining it. Like, look at that. Imagine that gorgeous, massive sleeve. I think this is going to be so much fun to wear. And it's just going along wonderfully. I'm enjoying it. It's really fun. What more can I say? And I'm just now, you know, I know I have quite a while to go now. If I just think about it, I have this much, cast them on last night. These are 2. So this is a lot of stitches on the needles right now. A lot. And I've got to knit my whole arm's length of this many stitches. So I'm sitting on Sleeve Island, enjoying my vacation here on Sleeve Island, not trying to rush home, just soaking up the sun. Gonna stay here as long as it takes until they're finished. Then I'll fly home to the wintry world where I'll wear this. If you understand what I'm saying, then I'm so glad. But I feel like, you know, I don't have a problem with knitting sleeves. I usually don't have like sleeve fatigue because I feel like usually when you knit sleeves, the small circumference or small like size makes it feel so fast, because compared to like the wider sweater width, it feels like, oh wow, it's growing so quickly. I know that now, because I'm doing it 2 at a time, I might not have that same experience, but even still, I see Sleeve Island as a kind of a vacation place to be. It's a holiday here. So yeah, that's my Elizabeth I. That's the progress I've made, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm hoping that I make a big dent in these sleeves this week, and that I can show you the dramatic, beautiful sleeves a little bit more in detail next time. But I think the only natural thing to do is to share with you my next kind of project that I want to cast on after finishing this one, which is the project that I knit little swatches for this week, because I couldn't stop thinking about it. I was so inspired, and I am so inspired to knit it. I'm so inspired by the yarn and the pattern. And the pattern is actually another Tudor Rose pattern. It is the Anne of Cleves pattern from the Tudor Roses book by Alice Starmore, and it's one that I've wanted to knit since I got this book, since before I got this book. I saw this pattern, I thought it was just so striking. The motifs, the kind of cabled Aran motifs, are so dramatic and striking too. They're just unique and beautiful, and unlike any other kind of Aran sweater or cabled sweater that I've ever seen. And I was just very intrigued by this design. And then honestly, thinking about knitting with a heavier weight yarn was also really intriguing to me, because I've been knitting a lot of kind of smaller gauge, finer gauge projects recently. I don't know what it is, I've just been drawn to them. I do think that at this point in my life, I'm sure that in my lifespan as a knitter, my tastes and things will shift and ebb and flow and change, but I've learned about myself in the last year that I do like a finer gauge. In general, I do like a finer gauge, I think. Although maybe not, I'm not sure. I feel like for me, I do like that. I'm actually not sure. When I say that, I'm a little bit like, I don't know if that's actually true. I don't want to make a statement about that. But what I do like often is a bit of a denser fabric. And this is a denser fabric, but with kind of a heavier weight yarn. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that I want a project which will work up a little bit faster, but will still be a pullover or a sweater, if that makes sense. So this is gonna give me that, I think, while also being a gorgeous, beautiful Aran cabled sweater, because I just love intricate patterns right now. I'm so into that. I don't know, I always needed something stockinette or something very mindless on the needles, but I love a lot of beautiful detail and just kind of a little bit of something extra. I love that. And this yarn I'm also really inspired by. The yarn, so I'm gonna show you the yarn first before I go on. This yarn I bought a few months ago, and this is Jamieson and Smith Chunky yarn, and I bought it on a clearance sale, a huge, amazing, hugely discounted clearance sale on the Jamieson and Smith Wool Brokers website. And I was so excited about this yarn because of that sale. But I think that the reason why it was on sale is because it was being discontinued. It is now discontinued, so you unfortunately can't get this yarn anymore. but I thought it would be the perfect yarn for like an Aran weight sweater, and that's what it's going to become. It's going to become this beautiful Anne of Cleves Tudor Roses sweater. It's a beautiful fuchsia colorway. The colorway is called Fuchsia, and it's a very accurate name for the colorway. I would say it's purple with kind of reds and kind of pinkish colors and blues all mixed in there. It's a worsted spun yarn, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. I'm so in love with this yarn. I love everything about it. I love the way it feels. I love the way it looks. I love the colorway. I think the colorway is really unique. I have not seen a colorway like this before. I think it's a bit unusual, but I also think it suits me and I'm going to enjoy wearing it. I've been dreaming about this pattern, and I have thought this is the perfect pattern for autumn. I want to cast it on when I'm finished with my Elizabeth I, and I just couldn't wait anymore, and I thought, you know what? Life is too short, and I knit for myself. It's actually, you know, supposed to be fun, so I'm not gonna like put any rules on myself. I'm just gonna like cast on a swatch and just start, and you know, maybe even cast on the sweater in the next few weeks. We'll see. I might finish the other one first, the Elizabeth I. I don't know. I feel like having more than 2 sweaters on the needles at one time, even if one is in hibernation, feels a little like out of my comfort zone. We'll see how quickly I can finish those sleeves, because if I can't finish them quickly, then I will probably break my own rule and cast this on. But this yarn is a tiny bit, according to, you know, the yardage, the meterage of this yarn, it's a tiny bit heavier than the yarn that's called for the pattern, but just a tiny bit. So I knew that it might be that I would need to go down a needle size or adjust things in order to get gauge. So I went ahead and cast on a swatch and knit a swatch for the sweater with the suggested needle size first. And I knit a bit of the motif from the design, kind of like the ribbed part of the design. And then I just knit some stockinette, because I've heard that you should knit some part of the like motif or the cabled pattern in your swatch, which I'm sure is true, and I know is true, and I've done it before, but honestly, I felt also that sometimes it's harder for me, it's like easier for me to really check the stitches number and stitch count when it's stockinette. So I thought I'd do some stockinette, and honestly, to keep it simple, I ended up knitting the rest of my swatches also in stockinette, because it's just so much simpler for me to read and see, and honestly, I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm making a fool out of myself right now. I probably am, but I feel like my gauge isn't going to be hugely different from the stockinette versus cabled parts. But anyway, I knit this swatch in the suggested needle size, and of course I had way too few stitches, so I needed to go down a needle size as I thought. So I went down 1 needle size, started knitting the swatch, and immediately could see, you know, after just a couple of inches, that it was still going to be, you know, there were too few stitches per 10 centimeters. So I just ripped that out, and I went down another needle size, and that was, so 2 needle sizes down from the suggested needle size. And when I was knitting it, and when I first cast off the swatch, I had exactly proper gauge, perfect gauge, like exactly what I needed. And I then went ahead and blocked it lightly, like steam blocked it, as I would the sweater, hopefully when the sweater is complete. And the gauge is then a little bit, it shifted a tiny bit. So I ended up having a few two stitches on the needles once more. And I've thought about knitting another gauge, 1 more needle size smaller, just to see, but that would be a pretty small needle. And to be quite honest with you, I don't know, I had a little bit of discomfort while knitting this swatch, because the needle was small compared to the yarn size, and my hands are used to knitting with a little bit of finer yarn right now, or like when I've knit with heavier weight yarn, because it's been a bit of a larger needle size, so it feels really tight, and it felt really kind of like it was a little bit straining for my hands to knit. And that was just a small swatch, so I'm a little bit nervous about knitting a huge sweater in an even smaller needle size with this yarn. Yeah, one thing I really do like about the Anne of Cleves design is that it is very tailored looking despite it being an Erin's weight sweater. It's not like oversized, and I like that tailored look. I think it makes it look really refined and really beautiful and feminine, you know, despite it being kind of a heavier weight yarn, because I think a lot of the time heavier weight yarns tend to be also like a little bit oversized in designs. So I like that it's a bit tailored. I do want to keep that, but on the other hand, I don't think I mind if it's a little bit, like if it's a little bit bigger. I'm not sure. I think that it should work out. If it's a tiny bit bigger, it should be okay, and maybe the cabling will compensate for that and maybe tighten my gauge a little bit. I'm not sure what to do. It's like maybe 1, 2, like maximum 3, very maximum 3, but really like 2 stitches off from the proper correct gauge count number, stitch count. Let me know what you think. Do you think that that's okay? Do you think I should go down a needle size and just knit a swatch, or do you think that's fine? I think I don't mind if the sweater is like a tiny bit bigger, because you want it to be cozy anyway, and I mean the design will have a tiny bit of ease, but it won't be like baggy. It'll be like a tight, like I think it has like a couple of centimeters ease. I don't know. I also know that like there are times of the year and times in general that I want to have something that's a little bit baggier on, or like a little bit, not baggier, but a little bit more, has a little bit more ease. So it's also not that big of a deal in that regard, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's where I am at with this, kind of project and my thoughts behind it and kind of where I'm headed, and how I'm thinking about it. But regardless, I'm so excited about casting this on, so excited about wearing it too when it's done. I actually have like a pair of pants that I want to wear with this sweater so much. They're like the coolest kind of almost like plaid. I don't know if that's even what they are, but they're kind of like plaid purple pants. And I think they're gonna match this perfectly and be super cool to wear with them. But anyway, that's my future, my next project. And I have one more thing to share with you that I cast on this week and that I've almost finished. I just have to actually Kitchener the toe on this project. This is my new little sock project. It's a random project that I decided to cast on this week because I found this very beautiful, gorgeous yarn in my stash. I went down to my stash just to get something, and I rediscovered a very precious bag full of leftover yarn that had been very graciously gifted to me by a friend of a friend. So my friend's friend is a knitter, but she isn't the biggest sock knitter, and her grandmother was a knitter, and her grandmother had left her a big bag full of leftover sock yarn from different sock projects, and she didn't have use for it. So word got around and it was offered to me, and it was just so kind and generous that it was offered to me, and I ended up taking it and having it in my home, in my stash, this beautiful bag full of leftovers, scrap yarns, which I will cherish and I really appreciate. And I thought, at the time I can put that in my kind of cozy memories patchwork blanket. I'm now super excited to have found this treasure trove to knit in my patchwork blanket, or in other scrappy projects. But when I opened the bag and I looked through it, I found this colorway, which it's all left over and a little bit disheveled, but this is the colorway. It looks a little bit tangled, but it's not tangled at all, actually. This little colorway, which is just a simple sock yarn, but it's got kind of browns and salmons and peaches and kind of lighter creamy pinks, and it's just a beautiful little sock yarn, kind of mini. And I decided to knit a pair of socks for Esmeralda, my daughter, out of this yarn. I thought I would probably have enough for a square when I'm done, because these little socks take no yarn at all. I'm so amazed at how little yarn these baby socks take, and also how quickly they knit up. For some reason, I had been totally procrastinating on knitting her socks. I just did not feel like knitting baby socks for a while, even though I think they're so cute and I've wanted to do it. I just was procrastinating on it. I didn't feel like it. And then about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I noticed she's out of socks. She's got like 2 pairs of socks that fit her, and we're about to head into autumn and winter, and she needs socks. Here in Germany, people wear socks a lot. I mean, that sounds so weird. Everyone wears socks everywhere. But in my family growing up, we were like barefoot and kind of just like playing outside in the dirt wild. In the winter at home, we were barefoot. Like, it was kind of like, I don't know, maybe like not good. Probably everyone else always wore slippers and thick socks, even in the States. But here in Germany, I really discovered that it's a deep cultural thing to always have like thick socks, wool socks, or slippers when you're at home. To always have the feet warm is very, very important. And in fact, it's sometimes actually something that like Nick and I kind of debate about, because I still, even in winter, I'm often barefoot. Although now with knitted socks, I wear my knitted socks and I do wear slippers, but I don't feel like it affects my immune system or something if I'm not wearing socks. But he, in his mind and in his like upbringing, it's like so connected to you getting sick. It's so connected to like everything if you have cold feet. Sagwa, the cat, is still snoring, so I'm sorry if you can hear him. But I think it is lovely to have warm feet, and I think it's very important that Esmeralda has some cozy socks for the winter. So that's why I decided to knit her pair of wool socks. And I'm sure I'm going to knit more socks than just this pair, because it's been so much fun to knit the first one. And I thought this colorway just matches her wardrobe so well. So I actually, just before I show you the socks, I have tried to cast her on socks before. And both times I kind of improvised completely the stitch count, and I just was like, that sounds like the right amount of stitches, cast it on. It ended up being way too small or way too big, so I always like ripped it out or just abandoned it. So this time I did find a pattern, and it's called like the Toddler sock pattern or something like that. I will link it below. I think it's on a blog, otherwise it's on Ravelry, but I'll try to link the blog below if it is on a blog. And it's just a perfect pattern. It's so precious because it's sometimes hard to find patterns for sock sizes that aren't babies or children. It's like right between those sizes, for like a little toddler, and it seems like it's gonna fit her like a charm, so I'm so excited. But it is a ribbed sock pattern, so I started it, I cast on the amount of stitches, I did the ribbing, I did the heel and the gusset, or heel and heel turn, and then as I picked up and started knitting, for the foot, I ended up not doing the ribbing anymore, I kind of forgetting to do it, and then I was like, oh no, it's gonna be too loose around her foot, because what I like about the ribbing is that it's like, it can kind of grow with her. If she's got if she's a little bit smaller, and over the winter she'll grow, so they can kind of just stretch out. I thought the same thing with her foot. I thought, it might be too loose on her foot if there's no ribbing. So I decided to add like a little bit of ribbing in the middle as like a design feature. And I decided that while we were driving in the car, I just was like, I'll just put some ribbing in the middle of the foot and then it's stockinette the rest of the way. And now I think it looks a little bit off. I don't know, not super good, but I think it's okay. It's not the worst, and it'll keep it tight around her foot right there, I guess. The next pair of socks I knit her, I'm not going to do that with. I might just either knit it then in stockinette or continue that ribbing, because I think that looks cute. This is almost done. I just need to knit the Kitchener, sew up the Kitchener stitch toe, and then it's over. And look how cute that looks. You can really see the sock. Is that not so sweet? It's just perfect. She has a very sweet pair of brown shoes that was handed down to us, and these are going to look so cute with her brown shoes too. She wears like a lot of browns right now and kind of like creams and peaches and pinks and stuff like that, so it'll be perfect for her little wardrobe. I'm so excited. There it is, the mini socks. And I really like this too, because I thought, I knit the cuff quite long and it's perfect to fold over. Is that not so sweet? Oh my gosh, mini socks are so cute and so quick to knit. So yeah, that's all I have to share with you knitting wise. If you're only here for the knitting, then thank you for coming. It's been so lovely to have you. I hope you'll come again sometime soon. But I thought I'd share with you a little bit about our trip to America, because I had mentioned last episode that I would share about it, and I just kept talking so long last time that I ended up not even telling you a single thing about our trip. So if you're not familiar, I'm from the United States. I live in Germany because my husband is German. But over the summer, or actually just for about 3 weeks this summer, a few weeks ago in July, my husband and I went with our daughter to the States to visit family, and it had been, I think, for my husband, it's been quite a long time since he was in the States last. It might be, I think, yeah, maybe 2017 or 2018. It must have been 2018, maybe 2017 that he was last there. So it was really, really fun to be able to see family and to spend time with my mom and my siblings and my grandparents. And actually, originally, we were going to see a lot more family there. Originally meaning like a few years ago, we had planned a family reunion for this summer. And we had planned that years ago, and obviously we weren't even sure if anyone would be able to make it there, if it would completely like just have to be canceled, completely. Or for a long time that we thought that would happen because of all that happened last year and all that's still going on. And a lot of family was going to come up from Argentina and Brazil, where my mom's family is from, and they couldn't come this time, so it was actually really canceled in the end. It wasn't the reunion we had hoped and expected a few years ago, but we did have kind of a mini reunion instead with just some of the American family who could make it there. My mom, some aunts and uncles, and my grandparents, and Nick and I were there too. So it was really, really special. We stayed in a house on the East Coast, on the Outer Banks in North Carolina. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Outer Banks, but it's a very, very beautiful kind of region of North Carolina. And it's just gorgeous and really beautiful. So we were right on the beach in a house that was pretty isolated, and we saw wild horses around, and just a lot of nature, and we spent a week there together, and it was so special to just catch up with family in that kind of enclosed environment and enjoy nature and enjoy the beach and the water and the ocean. And Esmeralda just soaked it up. It was so cute to see her interact with people, and there are lots of kids in my family. My mom is the oldest sibling of 4, and there were just like I have so many cousins, so many cousins, and lots of little cousins. And so she was in good company, and she could play and meet a lot of her fun kind of, I don't know what that is to her second cousins. It was so much fun. And, she grew up in a time, she's only 1.5, but her like friend group is very small, very, very, very small. Only a couple of babies she'd ever met and children. So she knows them and gets along with them, but like being around new kids and stuff is still something that's new for her, and I'm so like interested and excited to see over the next few years how it's going to be for like kids to see each other who were born in a time where they couldn't really like get together. I think it's so interesting and funny, but kids are resilient, and she kind of took a moment to warm up, but then she was just totally at home. She loved the ocean too. Like I was thinking, I wasn't sure how she'd react at the beginning. She was a little scared, but then she just like ran full force into the waves and absolutely loved it. But anyway, it was so much fun to be at the beach. And after that, we went back with my mom to her home in Chicago, kind of right outside of Chicago. It's not directly in Chicago. Here's Southwest Foot again. But we spent a couple of weeks there just soaking up kind of family time, which is what we mostly do when we're there. And my sister got engaged while I was there, which was so exciting. And actually, I'm almost ashamed to tell you this because it feels like, what word would I use? It feels like almost embarrassing to admit that this is happening again. But I am going to be going back to the States again, a 3rd time this year for her wedding. Hopefully, if it's possible. We'll see. Everything's up in the air. But it feels like so crazy to say that. Whenever I say that now, I feel like almost like embarrassed because, 3 times in 1 year is a lot of times to go back and forth, continent to continent, especially right now. But my sister's getting married, and I'm going to go to her wedding, so I'm really excited. She's getting married in September. We were there when they got engaged, and she just got engaged in the most gorgeous, she got engaged on the kind of beach, at the beach house we were staying at. And it was so romantic, and she and her fiance are so in love and so perfect for each other. So I'm so excited to be there and to be a bridesmaid. It's gonna be so much fun. And she's gonna have a little tiny wedding in my mom's garden, and it's gonna be beautiful. My wedding was also in my mom's garden, actually. We got married just in my mom's backyard, and it was lovely. I think, it's interesting because I'm the oldest of 6 children, and my sisters and I often talk about the fact that, I, for example, never really dreamt about a wedding. I always dreamt about falling in love, and I'm a very romantic person. I love romance. I loved love, but I thought it would be the most romantic thing in the world to elope or have a very small wedding, an intimate wedding. But I never thought much about a wedding or a wedding dress. That was just not a part of my childhood dreaming. And so when it came time for my wedding, I wanted it very small and very simple, and I had a beautiful dress and a beautiful wedding, and I loved my bridesmaids' dresses. I loved, the man that I was marrying, which was the most important thing. I was the most excited about that more than anything else. But I wasn't really I didn't have big expectations or something. I just wanted very, very simple. And my sister, she has always dreamt of her wedding, and she's very much been a girly girl and kind of dreamt of all of those things. So it's been so much fun to see her process that and kind of live that out a little bit too in her own way. Although having your own wedding for real is a lot different than having, dreaming of a wedding as a young girl, because there's a lot of logistics involved with a wedding, with the aesthetic choices that you make, because she's really deciding on those things, and I think she's gonna have the most beautiful wedding, and I'm so excited to be a part of it. It's really fun, because she's my 3rd sister. So I have 4 sisters and 1 little tiny brother, but she's my 3rd sister, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to her wedding. So next month I'm gonna be gone again from Germany, which is gonna be crazy, but it's gonna be so special. Anyway, I hope that you're doing well. I feel like I'm losing light because it's already the evening. It's almost 8 o'clock now, actually, and I'm amazed that it's still light enough for me to film, but I should probably say goodbye to you. Thank you so much for joining me and watching. I hope that you'll come back if you enjoyed, and if you did enjoy, leave a like and subscribe. That would mean so, so very much to me. Let me know in the comments what you're knitting, what you're working on. I love being in communication with you and just connecting with this community. It's so special to have a lot of other makers and crafters and knitters to chat with and to share inspiration with. So, with all that being said, I wish you a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye!